Hey family, what's up? CJ Jamie here, CP Larry here, back in the vehicle doing another little live streaming with y'all. So today we want to talk about how has Kung Fu helped you in your life. So we're going to share a little bit about us and how it's helped us in our lives, but then we're hoping to also hear from you and hear how it's helped you as well. So yeah, get on here, let us know how Kung Fu has helped your life. We're going to be sharing our experiences, but we're really more interested in hearing yours because we already know ours, but maybe you don't know ours, so we're going to share. So do you want to get started?
You going to make me?
No, I'm not going to make you, but I might punch you in the face again.
Oh. So what are we talking about? Kung Fu. You know, when I got involved in training in Kung Fu.
Well, you've been doing all your whole life. I'm so jelly.
Well, I've been doing
I've
been doing martial arts my whole life. Like, a lot of people are like, well, you know, how long you been training? What belt are you? I'm like, man, dude, as soon as I came out of my mom's womb, dude, my dad started stretching my legs over my ears. So the reality is, though, when I was younger, I guess I started training when I was about 7 to about, I want to say 13. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. About, yeah. I don't think I got too much discipline out of it because I hated it, right?
Oh, so when you were young, you didn't like it?
No, my sensei, you know, my dad was mean to me when my dad was training me.
Right.
And then he was so mean that my mom was like, look, dude, you
this
can't.
Isn't a good idea.
Yeah, you can't train my son anymore. So my dad's like, all right, well then I'll find a school to put the kid in.
Right.
And so he went to 9, 10 different schools and looked for the meanest teacher, and that's who he stuck me with.
The meanest?
Oh, the meanest, dude. The meanest. But I didn't get too disciplined. I mean, I learned how to get beat up. I don't know, that sounds crazy.
Able to take a punch.
I could take a punch. I wasn't afraid to fight kids. I mean, I was getting beat up by men. But in terms of helping me,
yes,
I don't think it really did. It just really let me get beat up more.
Okay, but fast forward to you meet Sifu Fu.
Oh, we gotta go when I'm an adult.
Yeah, let's go past that. So how has it helped you in your adult life after you got through, just getting beat up?
Well, for starters, I believe it helped me with my ADD.
Hey, Shane. Well, we're testing it out. So yeah, it's kind of a new thing that we're doing. We're just,
we got to run a lot of errands. We're not doing a webinar, a Q&A webinar later tonight with Sifu Fu.
Yep.
But we figured, we're always crunched for time.
Yes.
So we're trying to, interact more and put more stuff out. When we're in the middle of running our errands.
Yeah, and we're always having these amazing conversations about martial arts and Kung Fu as a whole. He says, I love it. Keep them coming. So awesome. So yeah, if you guys love it, give us some thumbs up, give us some likes. Make sure to share this.
Also,
and we'll definitely do more of these. Ron says, definitely helped me to learn and understand.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. So I'll continue what I was saying. Yeah. So one of the biggest issues I had before I met Sifu and before I started training in Kung Fu was I was all over the place. I was like, what do I do with my life? Where do I go?
ADD brain.
Yeah, I could never complete any particular task. My focus was lost. My story is a little different. I dropped out of high school. For the longest time, I guess I was self-raised. Long story. I'm not going to get into the details of my youth, but I was lost when I met Sifu, and so I didn't know what I wanted to do. Now, I had some vague ideas, right? I didn't want to work for the man, and what intrigued me about Sifu...
Who's the man?
The man is anyone trying to oppress your life and make you do things that make you very unhappy. Life shouldn't be about you being... We hear all the time in Inner Shaolin of people who are unhappy with their situations. Times are hard, this is bad, that's bad, I got this problem, I got that problem, and then the list goes on, and I get it, right? I absolutely get it, which is one of the reasons why, again, we put together Inner Shaolin, is because we got it.
You should just go straight down. There's a shop right down that way.
But we gotta go to storage too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
See?
Things to do.
Yeah, that's why we're doing a video for these fine, wonderful people. And so it helped me focus in on what I wanted to do with my life, which was be a pendulum, is what I wanted to do.
You have to explain that
Yeah,
to
I'm gonna have
them
to explain
because they don't know what you're talking about.
So, I used to work a manual labor. Well, most of the jobs I had when I had a job were manual labor jobs. And I used to have to, in order to get a private lesson with Sifu Fu, I had to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get to his school, which was a good clip away. It must have been about 35-minute drive just to get to his school. And I had to get a class before I went to work. And so I would wake up at 4:30, get dressed, get out to his school, and I'd walk into class and he would just be swinging on a pull-up bar and he'd be like, "Hey, look at me, I'm a pendulum." And I was like, "Man, dude,
I've never seen it, but I can so see the visual of it. Every time you talk about it, I can just see Sifu doing that.
So just watching him, and even his testimony to God, just the person he was, made me start to focus my life more on the things that I wanted out of life and what I was going to do with my life. And I seen how good his kung fu was, and I'm like, well, geez, man, how do you get so good at this? And so I started trying to. One thing you learn when you drop out of high school early and you're not doing it because you're just want to be a loser, deadbeat, hang out at home. But if you drop out of school because you found that the system didn't work for you, I still had drive. I just didn't want to be a part of the system. I learned something at a young age, which was model those who are successful. And that's what I started to do with my life. Is I'd look around at people who I thought were successful, and I started to model those people, their actions, their habits, and things like that. And so, in a big way, training in Kung Fu's changed my life because it helped me get focus in my life. What about you? What about you?
That's it?
Well, I got a lot more, but I thought we'd share the conversation a little bit.
All right. So, for those of you that don't know my story, I wanted to do martial arts since I was a little girl. I want to say I was about 4.5, maybe close to 5, on a job site. My parents used to do drywall construction. Before I did that, let me read Ron said. Ron says, my experience as a martial artist has also helped me to relate my life of faith to others. It's also helped me to understand organizations, maybe it means organizations. Okay. The workings of a dojo life is a microorganism of a larger organization. That's very true. That is definitely true, Ron. Thank you for sharing that. So I wanted to train since I was little. So I was on a job site with my parents. At the time, they did drywall for a good portion of my childhood. And me and my brother were playing outside on the sidewalk, and this little boy came up in a gi, which at the time I had no idea what he was wearing. And I just noticed that he was, really exuberant. He was just beaming all this light and stuff, right? And I was like, whoa, why is that kid so happy? I just had to ask him, which was weird because I was actually a very shy kid. And so for me to go up and actually say anything to anyone was insane. I just really thought about that. I used to tell people all the time, and it's so true even now, if people didn't come up to me, I would never have any friends. I just wouldn't. And it's not because I didn't want to be friends with someone. I was just that kind of shy. So I walked up to this boy, which was totally out of character for me, but I had to know why was he so happy. And so I asked him, what he was wearing, because I didn't know what he was wearing, and he told me he was wearing a gi. And I asked him, what that meant, and he was telling me how he did karate, and he was just super just exuberant and just glowing. And it was in that instant I was like, I need to do this. So see ya, sorry about that. Apparently we had a little interruption. So I grabbed my brother and we go bolting to where my parents were working, and I run in and I'm like, mommy, daddy, I need to be in karate. And they're looking at me I got two heads, because they're like, who are you just talking to? What's going on? That kind of thing. And so long story short, that didn't happen because my parents didn't either have time or money. That was kind of the biggest obstacle. And I got a tiny taste of it in an after school thing that my school did for a couple weeks when I was in 7th grade. And that kind of rekindled that, hey, maybe I can get to do this again. But then my parents still could not accommodate, so that didn't work out. And long story short, when I was an adult, I was going to college full-time, I was working full-time, and I did try to find a school at that time, but the school that I found was out of my budget at that time. I was a poor college student, even though I was working full-time. It was insane. And then I got married, and then I eventually met Sifu Larry through a mutual friend. And he started just talking about what Sifu Fu did, and I wasn't even living in the same state at the time. And as soon as he started just describing the no neck system to me, that light bulb, that same light bulb with that little kid that I seen when I was like 4.5, maybe 5, went off again, and was like, this is what you need to do with your life. This is what you need. This is the system you've been looking for. And I had never heard anyone explain martial arts like that. Like, I had been looking in different things, in different systems, but I never found anything that really 110% resonated with me until I heard about the no neck system and Tai Chi and Qigong, which I hadn't really been exposed to much, except for like thinking it was for old people, which it totally is not just for old people, it's for everyone. So that was like the change right there. So then I got that hunger and that desire, but for those of you that know the story, that didn't happen. That was in 2009. And I wanted to build this site. I wanted to help them do all this crazy stuff because I wanted to learn this, but I also wanted other people around the world to be able to learn it. But they didn't think anyone would want to learn online, so I tried to find stuff locally, and not even like super close to me. I looked within about an hour and 45 minutes for me, radius around where I lived. Couldn't find anything but watered down garbage. Even when I got divorced and moved to a different state, which was Ohio, just did the same thing, tried to find it, couldn't find it, and God just put it in my heart that I needed to move to New Jersey if I wanted to train in this system, which then after 6 months of being here, I still hadn't really trained yet, because there was other things that we were doing business-wise at the time, but we did get to start working at Inner Shaolin, which was like my ultimate like goal. Like, I was, you know, praying for it, and I was hoping that eventually they would all be open to it, and it was. So my Kung Fu journey officially started the day that we launched the site, which was May 1st of 2014. So I'm coming up on 4 years on May 1st. And for me, it's just been a dream come true. So I can't even like say it in words. Like, I'm probably gonna start crying. I'm gonna try not to.
Oh, come on, dude.
I feel the tears coming up.
Oh my God! Every day, folks.
Every day? No, it's not every day.
I'm just
Dang.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
I am kind of emotional, but in a good way, not a basket case emotional. I'm an empath, so a lot of emotions going on. Ironically says, "Damn, you're inspirational." Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But
I tell her all the time, man. She's the star. We're just trying to help her along.
You're just trying to help me along. But for me, a lot of different things. It just helped me be more confident. It helped me because I was in an abusive marriage in a relationship for 7 years. So there was a lot of wear and tear on my self-esteem. Even before that, I grew up in a slightly dysfunctional household and stuff like that, and my parents did the best that they could, and I love them greatly, but you know, they had their own baggage from their childhood that they brought into their parenthood. And long story short, I had a lot of things. I had self-esteem issues. I had problems with ADD brain too, just like Sifu Larry, which I think is why we work so well together, because we understand our insane brains going on here. But it helped me with that too. So before, my mind would always be running a mile a minute, and not just about one thing. Like, sometimes couple that with being an empath, which for those of you who don't know what that is, but that's someone that can feel of you know, any living beings whatsoever. So I can feel the good, the bad. I tell when someone's not feeling good, if they're angry, frustrated. Let's see, Coma says, I started at age 37.
You gotta stop doing that.
Started at age 37, and now I'm 48. Oh, well, that's why I was trying to do that, so it wouldn't go away. So I didn't get to see the rest of your comment. Oh, hopefully I'll be able to read it, and next time someone else comments, I'll get back to you on that one. We haven't quite figured out this mobile version of YouTube yet, and getting the chat to just stay up. So yeah, it helped me with my ADD. Brain would be going a mile a minute. Now there's times where, you know, Sifu Larry will ask me like, hey, so what are you thinking about? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. I could not ever say that before. I really could not. But there's lots of times where I'm really not thinking of anything, and I'm just in the moment, and I'm just totally zen and chill. So that's been huge. It's helped me with my sleep. It's helped me with depression, obviously stress management, and just overall just believing in myself more. So we'd love to hear from you. If you're on, you know, let us know how Kung Fu's helped you.
I should expect him 1 point. That's okay.
I just kind of gave them a gloss over of everything. Talking to you,
well, have a great day.
That's no. Come on, share some more.
All right. Oh, shucks. So something that I noticed too at my training, somebody.
All right, so Sean says, you were talking about the cost yesterday. 1 month's light membership is the same as a takeaway pizza for 7 pounds and 50 cents. Yeah, for real, bro. Seriously, like for one pizza, you could have a whole month of training. Like, why would you not? Comey said, I started at age 37, now 48, and recently so yeah, so I'm 36, so I will be 37 this year. And we have lots of people that...
I'm 42.
Yeah, and you'll be 40,
I think
43.
Sifu Food's 44 or something.
No, he's
56.
No, he's 46. He'll be 47 in September.
I don't know.
The only reason I remember is because we're both September, and we have a 10-year difference.
So another thing that I do in my life is I play guitar. And I noticed since I've been, and I put it down. I put the guitar down for a while when I had my babies, and when I was younger playing guitar, I had a hard time remembering chords or making the connection to my hand and things like that. Now I'm going back and I'm playing my guitar again, and my mind, I guess my mind to hand connection is a lot better.
Of course it is.
My ability to remember chord structures and patterns has improved greatly, which I'm surprised. Going back to playing music, I'm surprised how quickly I'm improving compared to before, with 15 years of training in between.
Right. So Ron says, I still always have at least 20 thoughts at a time in my head, but can now block out any extras when I need to stay on one thing at a time though. Music, yes, doing basics is much like doing scales. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does help you to be able to do other things easier because your mind is just more clear. And if you're doing anything physical, your body mechanics, your hand-to-eye coordination, there we go, is like a bazillion times better. And the longer that you train, all those benefits just go up. They just go up.
I think there's a misconception a lot of times with martial arts. I think people are like, hey, can you fight? And I think if you're genuinely serious about martial arts, fighting's just a natural part of the martial arts.
Right. And
anyone who seriously trains, I'm pretty sure on some level they can fight. I don't, there's so much, hype around mixed martial arts and MMA and what's real and what's fake and this won't work against that. The reality is, talk to anybody who's really been in any real fights in their life, and their story is going to be totally different than a lot of the stuff that you see out on YouTube and on Facebook and other places about people talking about what's going to work with this. And the reality of martial arts is if you train genuinely, learning to fight is just part of it. And if you have a good teacher who's being real with you, you will explore that part of training as well. Now, with that being said, there's so much more to training in martial arts than fighting. Fighting is just one little piece of what it can bring into your life on positive light. It like an example is like last night when you were dropping my kid off from Wushu. I was grabbing the hammer, and if anybody knows me, when it comes to working with hammers and wrenches, I got two left hands, and I don't even swing a hammer right, but give me the same hammer and let me show you how to use it as a weapon. And I'm super graceful, fast, agile.
Right, all of a sudden you're
got perfect aim.
Bam, good to go.
Yeah.
Some weird misconception.
But she was trying to get me to show my hammer, my hammer weapon techniques. She was
y'all.
Like, dude.
So you just kind of heard that he said, well, hold on. Let me get to my thought in a moment. So Diego says, hello, I have a quick question about stretching my legs. Is it always important for me to stretch my legs to be flexible as a martial artist? Yeah, especially if you don't have flexibility.
Well, let's change that. Let's just change that around for a minute, and say, is it important to stretch? Listen, we all get older, and as we get older, our body honestly doesn't want to work with us. So the way to look at it is, you should just stretch just because it's healthy.
Yeah.
Now, the degree of stretching, that's debatable, right? If you're going to try to do high kicks over your head or crazy stuff, well, then you want to do extreme stretching. But you don't have to do extreme stretching. If you were just doing like a Tai Chi type of training, you could do moderate stretching. Some yoga does moderate stretching. Some yoga does extreme stretching. Yeah. Find what's right for your body. Find what's right for you. And just know, as you get older, your body needs to stay nimble. It needs to stay flexible like a bamboo.
So both of our kids go to Wushu, and this guy, Master Lee, I don't even know. I want to say he's either in his late 50s or early 60s, somewhere around there. And I'm just kind of based on just what I know of him and stuff like that. So I don't know his exact age, but he's like insane. Like he can stretch, he can do splits, he can do crazy kicks and jumps, and well, throughout the years, you better be stretching. Martial artists are not. So let's see. Ron says, a good knee groin kick beats a head kick any day. Absolutely. That stuff, flexibility is important. Absolutely it is. Shane says, you guys change lives. Your enthusiasm is infectious. I'm 47 and just starting my journey. And it's just starting. Absolutely. Well, that's awesome, bro. We have so many people. Thank you so much for that. We love what we do. We absolutely love what we do. We definitely would not be doing this if we didn't have a passion for it.
Yeah, we wanted to bring something to the marketplace that had more substance, and it's just more.
When you join our site, we want you to feel like you have a home. You know what I mean? Like, we're not just people that are here to teach you. You have a safe place to come, share your struggles, your frustrations, and get some help.
Because the reality is, all the martial arts out there are awesome. All of them: karate, jiu-jitsu, judo, kempo, aikido, aiki jiu-jitsu.
They all have their merits.
Bakwa, Icing Eye, home guard. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The martial arts in of themselves are cool. The problem is human beings. Human beings suck. They destroy the martial arts, their ego, their pride.
Well, not all human beings.
Not you guys on here. We like you. Except for you guys who keep giving us thumbs down. I don't like you either.
Boo. So Ron says, I'm 53, been involved in the arts since I was 15, so keep it up, you all, fellow middle-agers.
Word.
Well, I disagree with the middle age thing, because here's the deal. You can live up to 125, okay? Like, bare minimum, okay? So, and then there's people that have been like living to like 130s, 140s, 150s in our recent times. So all I'm going to say is, don't speak death over yourself, brother. You're not like middle age until like, we'll say 65. Okay? When you're 65, you can call yourself middle age, right? But we have a lot of people that join us. I think it was Shane that said that he just got started in his journey. We have people that just got started in their 60s and even in their 70s. So it is never too late. Like, if this has been something you've been wanting to do your entire life, and for whatever reason, like, everything just never seemed to work for you, what we have here at Inner Shellin is like ridiculously affordable and ridiculously convenient, because you can work around your own schedule. So there's like absolutely no excuse for anyone anymore. So don't let your perceived age or I'm old or any of this nonsense stop you.
To keep with the theme of this particular video, I want to talk about Tai Chi for a second.
Ooh,
here in America, the understanding of what Tai Chi is not good. A lot of people don't really understand the benefits of what studying Tai Chi does for all of the martial arts, all of them. Because it wasn't until I started training in Tai Chi that I started to really realize how little I knew, number one.
Right. You really don't even know how to move at all.
Well,
right? You
here
don't
I
know how
am,
to walk right when you do Tai Chi. You're like, no.
I trained in karate for a lot of years. I've always been on the more athletic side, between lifting weights or just in different phases of my life. I've done different things, but and I've gotten into tons of street fights growing up. I'm not proud to say that. That's just that's just what my reality was. When I was in my early 20s, or I guess mid 20s, I wanted to test what Sifu Fu was teaching me, so I worked at a real busy nightclub in Atlantic City. And when I say nightclub, it averaged about between 5,000 and 9,000 people in the club. My job was only one job, and that job was, I had a little earpiece. If I got called somewhere, I was fighting. So for about 8 months, Friday and Saturday, all I did was fight.
Ouch.
in a defensive kind of way, trying to keep the peace, but it was a real environment. I had to quit the job because emotionally it drained me as a person.
I bet.
And there's just some crazy things that went on where I thought the money they were paying me wasn't worth it.
Oh, no.
to risk my life for.
Definitely not worth it.
But I wanted to see if my martial arts would work, and it did. But through all this experience, I still had a hard time using muscle. I still had a hard time using my strength, and I knew in the back of my mind, man, someone bigger than me, stronger than me, is gonna beat the living crap out of me, because I knew there was a limit to my skill. And I balanced my skill with my strength, and I knew that, I felt that, but I couldn't fix it. And you know, a lot of times it's not as easy as saying, hey, once you do the Tai Chi form and do Qigong, your Kung Fu is going to be better. Because the reality is, when you start doing an internal martial art, you start doing a lot more self-checking.
Right.
And there's a lot of layers of insecurity, and there's a lot of layers of fear, and there's a lot of layers of ego, and there's a lot of layers of pride that you have to work through in order to listen to someone else.
The first person
to
you
listen
fight
to
is
their
yourself.
body. And that's, you know, once you start tearing through that, I remember when I finally did start doing Tai Chi, and I guess I've been doing Tai Chi for over 10 years or so now. I started with just doing like Wing Chun and Shin Na with Sifu and some animals, but then I migrated into Tai Chi because I came to like a halt in my training, and I couldn't figure out how to progress. Doing my Tai Chi form one day, and for the first time in my entire life, I was like, oh my God, what did I just feel? And it was a feeling of me finally connecting to my body. Well, I spent the first, 30-something years of my life thinking I understood a concept, but I didn't understand a concept. I had no idea, not exactly what was real. And that was the first kind of like, oh, I get it now. There's so many people out there who think they understand these things in the martial arts, but they really don't. And it's not because they're ignorant, and it's not because they're stupid. They just haven't had the opportunity to get exposed to the right kind of material that can help them with that.
Your average, okay? So since I was like, I don't even know, I want to say since my teens, I was like, I'm living to 125, I'm living to 125. Not kick us off. Oh, I think we're back. All right.
We're probably going to be on back because I'm about to go to dead spot again.
We're flipping around, and we might get stuck in the dead zone again. So if we lose you, we'll be back as soon as we're out of the dead zone. So let's see here real quick. Let me see if I can get that chat to come back up. For a long time, I was like, I'm going to be 125. And then I started seeing people that are living past 125, healthy, coherent, all that good stuff, still moving, still mobile, still doing their thing. So I decided that 125 was like way too low. So now I'm like, I think I'm gonna shoot for 150. So but the point is, like, don't let other people's averages be your average. You can choose what you want for your life. That's all I meant to say. So let's see, we had some other comments that came through. Hopefully we can get black enough for black folks, and of course to black for white folks. And a lot of the guys in my high school took steroids, so martial arts was my way of staying safe from literally every being around. And to Jamie, I'm an empath also, and it stinks sometimes. Bro, I know both of us can relate to being mixed race. Like, we are mixed with like practically like everything you could think of, and we understand. Like, we have actually had many conversations about how it really sucks because like we don't fit in 100% anywhere. Like, we're either too, like you said, too white for this person, too black for this person, not Hispanic enough for this person, all these different things like that. Not Italian enough, not Middle Eastern enough, not Greek enough, all just not enough, not Spanish enough. Yeah, so we totally understand that is a sucky place to be, bro. We get it. But I'm glad that you found solace in your martial arts, and it's helped you. I know Sifu Larry was in like a really rough neighborhood growing up and dealt with some of the stuff that you're talking about as well, and I know his martial arts helped him too. But Tai Chi is definitely game changer. So let's see, I think we had a couple other comments. Let's see. And you know, by the way, it sucks that you have to even be judged by your skin color anyways, people. Like, I can't even, like, we're all humans, we all came from the same place, there is only one race. The whole race thing is a man-made construct, but maybe that should be like another another session for another time, because I can go on and on about that. Kome says, so true. I started Tai Chi to help my Kung Fu, and it made a big difference. It does. It really does, because you're learning how to connect your body.
Yeah, if there's one thing.
And your mind. Your mind, body, the whole thing.
Now, in my life, you know, often not everything's weighed even, right? I have an advantage when it comes to martial arts in this respect. My family has been doing martial arts for generations. It was just natural that my father started teaching me martial arts and start putting that seed inside of me. My father was also in the military, and I grew up on army bases, military bases around the world, actually. Big army brat. And so combat, war, fighting, that was just natural conversation in my house. You know, not a lot of people grew up that way, and some have, and you can see the ones that grew up that way, they tend to be into martial arts. And so when I say I want you to put a lot of weight in this, right? Like in all my life and all the things that I've done, the most important martial art that affected me the most, it really was Tai Chi. And it wasn't because I learned how to levitate, and it wasn't because I look at the techniques within Tai Chi, although some of those techniques are pretty awesome. It wasn't like, oh, now I know the secret fighting system. It was what was submitting myself to learn in Tai Chi, absorbing what it meant to be a part of who I was, that unlocked a whole lot more doors in my martial arts. It made all my martial arts skills go through the roof. My Wing Chun was pretty good, and my Wing Chun went from pretty good to really good. Even my boxing was okay, and then it went really good. Because
you learned how to connect your body.
And that's when I started to,
as what?
You know, you always hear people say, you know, there's no such thing as style, or use what works and throw away what doesn't work, or, you know, mixed martial arts and blah, blah, blah. The reality is there is no style. Once you understand how energy works with who you are and how to apply that through your limbs, all of a sudden, all the styles become the same style, and there is no separation of style. Whether it's ground fighting, stand-up fighting, there's different techniques.
Right.
There's different ways to train for different things. But at the end of the day, right, your joints are where your joints are. You know, your weak points on your body are where your weak points on your body are. Timing is very important. All these things are important. All I'm just trying to say is that if the conversation is one-sided, in other words, if all you can hear in your brain is what you think, then you're not actually listening. And what do we know about people who have bad listening skills, right? Well, martial arts, Kung Fu, especially what we do, you know, we focus more heavily on the internal side of martial arts. If your listening skills are poor, and that's you know, sensitivity training, the whole nine yards, feeling energy, you name it. If your listening skills are poor, I don't care what style you know, your martial arts are poor. You have to have good listening skills. You need to understand what your opponent's saying to you, good, bad, or indifferent. And you can't understand that if you're too busy just listening to yourself.
So Kung Fu can help you, what? Be a better listener. And
hey, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to give myself a pat on the back, but all right.
There you go.
Just kidding.
Nia says, please explain internal versus external. That. Absolutely.
All right, listen. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to squeeze your whole body as tight as you can and hold your breath and don't let nothing out. And then when you pass up, after you pass out and wake up, that's external. All right?
Don't do that.
And then, you know, don't do that. Just relax your whole body and be cool.
Please don't pass out.
That's internal.
I should put a warning on this. We are not responsible for anyone passing out and hurting themselves.
Hard
or
energy.
Anything.
Hard energy is when you're bashing your body into stuff and you're just power lifting things and
it's where strength and
you're
size
like a tank, right? You're just like a big fat tank, you know, blasting through stuff. That's external.
If you look at like typical like fighting nowadays, why do you think there's classes? Why do they put people in similar weight classes together and stuff like that? Because they want you to fight someone with a similar relative strength, relative mass, that kind of stuff. That's external. Internal, none of that matters anymore.
And I'll explain why, actually. So internal versus external martial arts can actually be talked about for hours and hours and hours. what I like to make as I guess like a separator between the two, when you're training your martial arts from an internal standpoint, there's a lot more quiet listening inside your mind. You know, rather than feeling the power that you're trying to emanate, you're trying to feel for the source inside. Like, you know, people who want to be softer, they do try to feel their heart and their liver and their kidneys, and then work their way out to their skeletal system, and then work their way out to their skin, and then work their way out to the hair on their hands, because you want to feel that, right? An internal martial artist is relaxing their mind. They don't have the thoughts of, I'm going to destroy this person in front of me. In fact, a good example of an external fighter, and I'm not talking about martial arts, just somebody who's very external, is, hey, you don't know how I'm going to act when I get mad. I see red, I black out, and I go crazy. I'm going to be crazy. That's an external person, right? That's really bad, and it's not going to work. You're actually slower. It'll work against somebody you can dominate and make them afraid of you. Who you're more powerful than.
But
then
if
your
you're
external self is going to win.
Internal calm martial artist, they're just going to look at you and
there's always some truth in a lot of sayings that you hear that everybody's heard, like and I'm sure you've all heard this before, but you know, if you're out somewhere and there's somebody in the corner real quiet and they're not saying nothing, they're the person you're worried about. You're not worried about the guy who's pumping out his chest, running his mouth. You know what he's all about. He's already laid his story on the table. True. It's that guy who's real quiet. You're like, I don't know about him, right? So an internalist, they're calmer, they're quiet, they're softer, they're not trying to overpower people.
But it's also a difference in how they project their energy. So if you got hit by an external punch and an internal punch, the external, you just feel it more on the outside.
Which, don't get me wrong, you can you hit hard. Yeah, you hit hard. You can break ribs. I'm not saying that it's not powerful.
With the internal punch, it pierces you. It literally goes in. Like, there's times where I get hit and maybe I get hit here, but all of a sudden I feel it shoot up to right here. No external hit is gonna do that to me. Or sometimes like you get hit here, but you feel it like in your back, like way down. And you're like, what the?
Ultimately,
it's insane.
Here's why we feel internal martial arts are better than external martial arts. Two main reasons. Number one, you're going to get older, man or woman. One day, you're going to be old, and your body is not going to be able to do what it does. And it's already, you know, I'm 20 plus years removed from 20, and I can feel the difference.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting younger and younger every day. But you keep on, brother.
The second thing is someone somewhere is already stronger than you. They're already bigger than you.
Bigger, stronger.
They got more attitude problem than you do. And they're going to knock you on your ass if you think that you're going to stand toe to toe with that person.
And in reality, if someone's going to like be a thug, they're weaker than them. They're not looking for the dude the same size. Or chick.
When you study your martial arts from an internal basis, it levels the playing field. It allows strength not to be a factor anymore, and if you can defend yourself appropriately.
Right. When you know how to use someone's strength against them versus it coming at you, it's just a game changer, because then, you know, someone that's smaller, like a female like myself, if some big dude's trying to come attack me on the street, if I have been training properly and I know my techniques and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, then he can come at me all he wants. He's just going to get hurt.
There's a story about Wing Chun where they say that Wing Chun was invented by a woman, right? And that may be true, that may not be true. I mean, you can go back and study the history of Wing Chun, and there's a couple different stories, and there's some mythology, and there's some other stuff. So I guess the real truth is somewhere in the middle. But we took that. Sifu Fu took that. He ran with that idea, and if it doesn't work for a woman, then it's ineffective. It's not effective martial art. Right, if a woman can't use it effectively
against a big
strong brute,
we don't teach it.
It's not worth. It might be useful in certain situations, but as far as we're concerned, when it comes to self-preservation,
it doesn't make sense.
It's not a worthwhile thing to practice, because we only want to practice stuff that we know is going to be effective, no matter who we're dealing with.
Exactly. And we want to just be able to help more people, so it just makes more sense. It helps you,
and keep in mind,
health-wise, mentally, as well.
A lot of times people talk about martial arts if like it's a video game, or it's like some kind of sport.
Or it's like
when we talk about defending yourself and protecting who you are. We're not talking about, hey, listen, if you don't train in X, Y, and Z, you're not going to be able to handle this person in their style, which is X, Y, and Z. The reality is, right? You're not going to probably fight somebody who's a master fighter, a Sifu or a sensei or some kind of elite uber killing machine, because, dude, that's not the real world.
It's not.
That's just not the real world. The chances of you coming across an MMA world-class fighter competing nationally, that's who you're going to defend yourself against when you're out with your family, is like slim
And
to
I want to
none.
know, like, okay, personally, if you are a true martial artist and you're really working on yourself,
Why you
you're
picking
not
fights?
going to be picking a fight
Why you
anyways.
picking
You're just
fights?
not going to be picking a fight. Okay, so if you're listening and you're still out picking fights, like, you still need to work on yourself internally, okay? Because there's some kind of conflict again. You should not be going out and picking fights and stuff like that. So yeah, the likelihood that you're going to come across this other martial artist that wants to take your head off is pretty slim, because both of y'all should be pretty chill and have more common
I
sense.
tell
with
people
that.
all the time,
So,
when I come across people who have a higher skill level than me, there's only one thing I want from that person.
you want to learn.
I want to learn.
Yeah,
I want to learn from them and try to absorb more knowledge for my self-knowledge.
absolutely.
And that's a big, that's a big thing. All the martial arts are effective at defending who you are, because if you are being a righteous human being, you're not starting to fight, then you have the total element of surprise on your side. So right there, the advantage goes to you.
Yeah.
That's number one. You got to work through things like people go, oh, well, that's not going to hold up in pressure. In pressure against who, dude? It ain't like you're going to be fighting Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? You might be, some guy might bump into you at the grocery store and push you into a salad. I don't know. But I'm sure that dude's not fighting anybody.
I have not seen anyone throwing
Neither
down
have I.
at the supermarket.
But I'm just saying.
I mean,
a
maybe.
carnival or
Okay, I
the
think
bar.
carnival, definitely bars, much more likely. But then again, you got to pay attention to your surroundings. Why are you putting yourself in situations that you shouldn't be putting yourself in?
This goes back to being aware and listening to what's going on.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I go, someone will say, we'll do a demo for a person, and they'll be like, hey man, I saw that punch. That's a weak punch. If that was me, I would have done this, and that would. Nobody knows what anybody else would do, because nobody's there in the.
But they also, that person doesn't understand is there's a counter to counter to counter. So if we show you one technique on how to do X, Y, and Z, right? Maybe to break free from a wrist grab, for instance. There's multiple ways that you can break free from a wrist grab, and there's multiple ways to follow up in the event that person tries to counter you or whatever. There's always a counter to counter to counter to counter. So anything that we teach, there's not one technique that's like, this is the only technique you will ever need against anyone and anything. It's just not the case. No one has one tool in their toolbox, people.
So we've been on for 44 minutes. We got to get to the grocery store.
Hold on. You go ahead and head to the grocery store. But I wanted to, let's see if I can get it back. There we go. So Gajira said, and even if you're young and strong right now, we've all had a day where you were so tired mentally and physically and spiritually that you couldn't fight externally at that moment anyway. For reals, yes. There are times when, you're just exhausted and stuff like that. And that's another good point with just being an internal martial artist and stuff like that as well, is that it just helps you get through all those tough times in general, but especially if someone's coming at you, because you do have to be on your game on a regular basis. And see, for there, you're not in the. There you go. But we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We've been on for 45 minutes, so we hope you enjoyed this. We've been enjoying these, and we definitely are going to start doing them at least a couple times a week, just because they're fun. So anytime some topics come up that we want to share with you and talk to you to all you about and stuff, we'll definitely do that. For those of you that want to check out the sale, it is still going on. I think today is the last day, or maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure, but you can go to entershelling.com/live, that's LIVE, and check that out. And also, if you are in the Baltimore area or anywhere close by, we had to out, I think, like the availability for like at least 5 more people, let me know. Go to entershelling.com/seminar and make sure you register, and I'll make sure to let the hotel know that you're coming so I can get you hooked up with a seat and some food and all that good stuff. And what else? Is there anything else? Oh, one more thing. If If you want to see some more exclusive content like Seafood Larry training, me training, Hector training, plus some other cool videos that we do and things like that, check out our Patreon. You can get started for as little as $5 to donate towards us, to help us be able to do more videos and more cool things like this for you all.
One more thing before we go. We'll be back tonight.
That's Patreon, patreon.com
Tonight,
/Enershalin.
9 p.m.
And yes, we will be back on live on YouTube, p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to answer your questions with Seafood. Make sure if you can that you do. But if you're watching this now or later, make sure this, love it, all the good stuff, share it on to all your favorite social media networks, and thank you in advance, and we'll see you later tonight. Peace.